Welcome back to Storya's 13 channel. For tonight, we've prepared a chilling bedtime story that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Let us know in the comments where you're listening from. We love hearing from our viewers around the world. Elena's eyes fluttered open, her heart pounding in her chest. The silence of her small apartment was deafening, broken only by the soft ticking of the clock on her nightstand. She lay still, trying to shake off the remnants of a disturbing dream that clung to her like cobwebs. As her eyes adjusted to the darkness, Elena froze. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. Her gaze darted around the room, and a chill ran down her spine. There, on every wall of her bedroom, was her name, Elena, 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 written over and over again in a frenzied scrawl. The letters looked as if they had been etched by trembling hands, each one slightly different from the last. Some were small and cramped, others large and looping, but all of them unmistakably spelled out her name. Elena's breath caught in her throat. She reached for the lamp on her bedside table, her fingers fumbling in the dark. When the light finally flickered on, she gasped. The writing was even more apparent now, covering every inch of the walls like a macabre wallpaper. Her heart racing, Elena stumbled out of bed, her bare feet hitting the cold hardwood floor. She rushed to the bedroom door, yanking it open and peering into the hallway. Nothing. The rest of her apartment was untouched, eerily normal in contrast to the horror in her bedroom. Elena's mind raced. How could this have happened? She lived alone in this old building, and she was certain she had locked up before going to bed. With shaking hands, she checked every window and door in her small apartment. Each one was securely locked from the inside. Panic rising in her chest, Elena grabbed her phone from the nightstand. She had to document this to prove to herself that she wasn't going crazy. She opened the camera app and pointed it at the walls, her finger hovering over the capture button. But as she looked at the screen, her blood ran cold. The walls in the camera view were blank, pristine, not a single mark or letter to be seen. Elena blinked hard, looking back and forth between her phone and the walls. How was this possible? She spent the rest of the night huddled in the corner of her living room, too terrified to return to her bedroom. As the first rays of dawn crept through the windows, Elena finally gathered the courage to check her room again. To her relief and confusion, the walls were clean. No trace of the nightmarish writing remained. Elena tried to convince herself it had all been a vivid nightmare. She went about her day in a daze, unable to shake the feeling of unease that clung to her. As night fell, she hesitated at her bedroom door, fear gnawing at her insides. But exhaustion won out, and she eventually crawled into bed, praying for a peaceful night. Her prayers went unanswered. Elena woke with a start, her eyes snapping open in the darkness. The familiar chill of dread washed over her as she slowly lifted her gaze to the ceiling above her bed. There, in the same frenzied scrawl as before, was her name, Elena, 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 covering every inch of the ceiling. The letters seemed to dance and writhe in the shadows. A whimper escaped her lips as she scrambled out of bed, her eyes never leaving the ceiling. But as she backed away, she noticed something new. Among the repetitions of her name, new messages had appeared on the walls. "I see you," one proclaimed in jagged letters. "Tonight," warned another. Elena's breath came in short, panicked gasps as she spun around, her eyes darting from wall to wall. The messages seemed to multiply before her eyes, growing more numerous and more threatening with each passing second. She fumbled for her phone, desperate to call for help, but her trembling fingers couldn't unlock the screen. As she struggled with the device, a sound froze her in place. The unmistakable squeak of a marker on drywall. Slowly, painfully slowly, Alina turned towards the source of the sound. Her eyes widened in horror as she saw her full-length mirror, the surface no longer reflecting her terrified face. Instead, a hand was emerging from the glass, clutching a marker. As Alina watched, paralyzed with fear, the hand began to write on the wall next to the mirror. The letters formed slowly, deliberately, each one dripping with malevolence. "Welcome home, Alina." A scream built in Elena's throat, but no sound came out. She could only watch, frozen in terror, as the hand continued its ghastly work. More hands began to emerge from the mirror, each one armed with a marker, each one adding to the nightmarish graffiti that covered her walls. Elena's legs finally remembered how to move, and she bolted for the door. But as she reached for the handle, she realized with growing horror that it was no longer there. The door had vanished, replaced by an unbroken expanse of wall covered in her name and those terrifying messages. She spun around, searching desperately for an escape, but every surface of her room was now alive with writing hands. They emerged from the walls, the ceiling, even the floor, their markers squeaking and scratching as they covered every inch of space with their sinister messages. Alina backed into a corner, her eyes wild with fear. The hands were getting closer, their writing becoming more frenzied. She could feel the cool touch of the markers on her skin as they began to write on her, covering her in the same manic scrawl that adorned her walls. As the darkness closed in around her, Elena's last conscious thought was a desperate plea. She silently begged to wake up, to find that this was all just another nightmare. But deep down, she knew the truth. This was real, and there was no escaping it. The next morning, Elena's landlord found her apartment empty. There was no sign of a struggle, no evidence of foul play. The only thing out of place was a single word, scrawled in shaky handwriting on the bedroom mirror: "Goodbye." That's all for tonight's story. We hope you enjoyed every spine-chilling moment. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss our next tale. Sleep well if you can.